Sean, what's up, brother? Looks like you're getting ready for the hunt. We getting started early or what? You just cold in Nashville or what?
It's freezing in Nashville. Yeah,
Is it
it's
really?
like it was like 3 degrees yesterday or something. So
I didn't
yeah, I'm
know
in
it
my
even
barn.
snowed. I think people get snow, like 2 inches of snow, and Nashville shuts down, it seems like.
Completely. We got 4 inches. It shut down. My kids have been on snow days for all last week and today, and hopefully they'll go back tomorrow. It's so funny. Nobody knows
I
how to
know.
operate.
It's crazy. It is weird. We had a little bit of snow in southern Utah. Was it last week? Which is very rare. Maybe once per year, but it never sticks. And people are crazy, man. Like we spent some time in Maine. A lot of people know, and there wasn't much that shut Maine down. But admittedly, Maine has the plows and the equipment and salts the roads and everything
Infrastructure.
else. So yeah, you guys don't have that infrastructure built in just because it's not necessary.
Yeah, yeah. But it was fun. We were gone. We were here a couple days, my wife and I, and then we left. We had an event we just did for 1,700 people, and so now
Oh,
we're
nice.
back.
Yeah, sweet. Well, I'm glad you're here. Kip, which is our normal co-host, he our normal, you're our abnormal co-host. Kip's our normal
Yeah,
co-host.
still
Uh
abnormal.
yeah, he had a last minute meeting. He's like, "Hey man, I can't make it." So I called you up. You're always down and I always enjoy our conversations. So I'm glad you're here to answer some questions from our Iron Council brothers today. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. We first one, let's jump into it. We got
Let's do it.
Marcus Segura, and he says, "What are the nutrient dense and high protein items you utilize for your diet?" Um, That's it. Oh,
Okay.
would be interested in what you both eat. That's a healthier and better alternative than chips and salsa, processed foods, etc.
Yeah,
Go
he
to.
knows my Achilles heel, which is the chips and salsa. Admittedly, though, it's probably been months since I had chips and salsa, so I have been able to avoid the temptation that tends to get me. Look, I'm not a nutritionist, and I don't even pretend to be one. I don't even pretend to like meal prep or weigh my food or really get into this. But very simply, and I'm not even saying I'm perfect at this, okay? But here's what I try to eat, and here's what I eat. I would say 70% of the time: meat, vegetables, throw some rice in there, and water. If you want to be healthy, just eat that. That's it. That's all you need to eat is meat, vegetables, green vegetables, or mix it up. I've heard even just having lots of different colors, whether it's carrots and peas and green beans and just lots of different colors helps. And it's very simple. One thing that I started doing, and I talk about this company a lot. They don't sponsor the podcast, but I talk a lot about HelloFresh. It's a great service. As I went through my divorce and had to learn how to cook, and I'm helping cook for my kids and myself. I don't really like cooking, or at least I haven't in the past, and I certainly don't like grocery shopping. So all the food comes directly to me. It has the ingredients, it has the recipe, it has the instructions, and so I just go through and I make that, and usually I'll have one leftover meal for the next day, so I have that for lunch. I don't typically do breakfast. People say intermittent fasting. I don't call it intermittent fasting. I just call it skipping breakfast. The marketers got a hold of that one. It's intermittent fasting. No, you just don't have breakfast. Like, just call it for what it is. And so I have an eating window, not because I'm super intentional about it, just because I don't eat breakfast. I'm not super hungry in the morning. Like, I don't go to the gym like with food in my stomach. I go on an empty stomach. I drink some water. Maybe occasionally I'll do a pre-workout. But really for me, what I like to eat and what I feel the best is wild game. So that's deer, moose, pig mostly. And that consists of about 70-80% of my protein sources. And if you can't do that, I understand, because not everybody hunts as much as I do or you do. So you could find like there's natural grocers, there's other companies you can use that have healthy protein sources. So it's wild game, and then it's green beans. I don't eat lettuce because that doesn't do well with me, but green beans, um, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, maybe some other things in there, and then rice and water. That's about it. Like, I don't, you could go to other people like Andrew Huberman and all that kind of stuff about the science behind it. I don't need the science. I just know that works for me.
Yeah, I'm in exact line with that pretty much. And a couple things that you said. One with the wild game thing that I was listening to a podcast with, I think it was his name's Taylor Sheridan, the guy who did a Yellowstone on Rogan.
Oh,
And
yeah. Okay.
he was talking about how easy it is if you want to start hunting. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm in the city, I don't hunt, I can't hunt, I can't whatever, or it's expensive to go hunt. It's really not. Living in California, when I was there, you could get an over-the-counter deer tag with a bow, shoot 2 deer a year. Even, and California is probably one of the, as people say, like least hunter-friendly environments out there. It's really not if you understand it. You can shoot
Yeah,
as many
but
pigs in California as you want,
I
and
just have to
just hunt
interject
stuff.
real quick, Sean, because you're built a little different. So let's admit that. Okay. Yes, you were in California, but I've been hunting with you. I mean, you're a killer, but you put in a lot of work. You put in way more work than I do, and way more work than the average human being. So let's not pretend that it doesn't take some effort and work, because what you're saying is like, oh, I don't know what the problem is. Guys
No,
like
no,
me,
no.
I'm
I'm
like,
not.
I don't know. I haven't seen you hunt.
but but okay. But now saying that, I'm lining it up for what he was talking about because he wasn't talking about me either, or somebody who does put in a lot of work. But it's like to get a rifle. He's like, you could even get a used rifle, with with decent optics on it, something that'll kill something. And for all of it, he was saying for 500-600 bucks. So the
Yeah.
investment of $500 to $600, but then you go kill two animals. What I was just about to say, in California, you can kill as many pigs as you want in California, right? So it's like, yeah, there's access and things like that, but I mean, most farms in California, if you just went and asked them, like, hey, do you mind hunters or something? You have to put in the effort, is what I was going to say. There is effort involved. You have to go out. You do have to spend some money. But let's say it costs you $500-600 to get all the stuff you need to go out and do it, and then you do have to learn. There's a learning curve. You have to learn to
Mm-hmm.
shoot. You have to do all that stuff. Let's say it costs you a total of $1,000, but now you have wild game in your freezer. If and number one, it's going to be better quality, the best quality meat you can get, and it's if you go Whole Foods, I know right now sells venison, ground venison, and this is what it is in
Really?
Tennessee. Yeah,
That's
I don't know what it
interesting.
is in other states, but in Tennessee, ground venison's 18 bucks a pound. Okay, so I mean it's the best meat you could get,
Is that good? I don't even
probably.
know. Is that 18? That sounds high.
That's a ton. That's a
Yeah.
ton.
Because
So if
what
you
is it supposed
want,
to be like for beef? You'd be like, what, $5-6 or something like that for a pound?
yeah, probably. Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
that I don't know because I haven't bought meat at the store in years
Yeah, I'm with
because
you on
of
that.
all the wild game, right? So
$18 a pound for
is
venison?
that is
Ooh.
that nuts? It's crazy.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
$18. So you do the math in your head. If you go out and you get a deer and that produces, 50, 60 pounds of meat, that's on the smaller side if you get a
Mm-hmm.
smaller deer, but 50, 60 pounds, do the math on that, right? And so now you're getting a better quality of meat. If you go to like the retail end of what it costs, it's far less money than you're ever going to spend on what you're buying. And then if you want to go that route and buy some, the best one that I know of is a company called Maui Nui. They're on the island of Maui, and they actually sell direct to consumer from the islands with access deer. And I don't know their cost honestly, but I know it's less than
It's
18
not
bucks a pound.
$18 a pound.
Yeah, and it's the best meat you can get. So there's resources is what I'm saying. So you could go out, you could hunt, you could have this wild game. It's an alternative as on the meat side of things where 100% you're never eating anything factory farmed. So
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there as research because if people automatically say, "Well, I don't hunt, so I don't have that alternative," there's alternatives. There's places you can go. There's companies out there that provide a better quality of meat. Most places have local farmers you can go to. You can go to your local farmer's market. There's going to be a farmer there that has grass-fed cows that they, sell
Yeah.
direct to consumer with, and you just have to put in the effort. You have to show up to the places, meet the people, ask around people that and go in with friends. Like I know guys who they find a local farmer, but they're not going to buy a whole cow, so they
Yeah.
go
Just you and
in
I go buy one
orders.
together.
Yeah, we buy a half each, a half a cow each, and you fill your freezer for the year,
Yeah.
or you go quarters or whatever. And again, way less than you're going to go to the supermarket and buy it for. So if you want the best quality and have that, um, do that. The second thing is when you were talking about how lettuce doesn't do well with you, I have the same body type, I think, as you, because lettuce doesn't sit well with me either. But my wife is opposite, where like lettuce, leafy greens, those are the best thing. Fish, shellfish, all that stuff doesn't sit great with me either. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like a red meat guy, but her body doesn't process red meat. She doesn't process the protein in it. And so, we have very
Oh,
different
it's horrible.
body
That's
types.
like the tick. There's a tick that if you it's the Lone Star tick. If you get bit by the
Yes.
Lone Star tick, you'll be allergic to red meat for the rest of your life. I would kill myself. Like that
Be
would
the
be
worst.
horrible. That would be horrible.
So, as far as like the best proteins, the reason I'm bringing that up is because different proteins are better for different people. Some people's bodies process uh, plant-based proteins better, and some people's bodies process meat-based proteins better. And so you can't just say whey is better for one person and these, other things are better. I mean, you have to figure that out, right? That's part of the process. And then you have to find those foods. Ryan's right. The best things are anything natural, all whole foods, anything that's not factory farmed, given antibiotics, free range, wild, all of that stuff's going to be the best. Same thing with your vegetables. And then I don't do anything like, I don't know if he was asking for like the bars or any of that stuff. I've never done any of that stuff. So
Bars? What do you
I
mean
don't know.
bars?
Like protein bars or anything
No,
like
we all
that,
know
like,
like the best thing you can do with nutrition, it's easy. Like all these guys like overcomplicate it. Even nutritionists are like, well, no, here's what you need. One ingredient food. Steak, rice, vegetables. You don't need a freaking protein bar. You should have, to your point, some venison jerky that you can chew on if you're going on a hike. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's not hard.
no.
One ingredient meals. Steak is one ingredient. Put some salt and pepper, you're done. Green beans, salt and pepper, you're done. Rice, put a little pepper, maybe some cilantro or a little, chopped onions and a little bit of, butter, and you're done. One ingredient items are the best. I did some research here while you were talking, Sean. A decent sized freezer at Home Depot, chest freezer, $200. A brand new American Ruger 308, which will get the job done on about 90% or more of big game in
Oh,
North America. A new rifle, $500.
okay.
So, and the beauty of that
Well,
too,
you need the optics though too, right?
you
So
do,
you need that part.
but even on that, you could spend $200 or $300. So let's say you're like you said, a grand into this thing. The beauty of that is that's going to last you a very long time. So your hunting cost becomes more effective and efficient over time
Yeah.
because you don't need to go buy new rifles, new gear, new equipment, new this, new that. And people say, well, what about all the camo? It's so expensive. Look, I'm sponsored by a company that does, you're wearing it.
Yeah.
Origin, right? Made in America. It's expensive. I'm not going to lie. It's expensive. Good camo is expensive. It's high quality stuff. You know what our granddads used to hunt in? Blue jeans and red flannels. And they killed more
Yeah.
deer than you and I would ever dream of.
Yeah.
So if we're saying things are hard, it's because we're either ignorant about it, which happens. So educate yourself. Or number two, you're just using it as an excuse. That's it.
Yeah. It's here's, I think the root of all of it is anything that you want to do well takes extra effort. You
Yeah.
can't just go with the flow, with the crowd, do what everybody else is doing. You have to put in the effort, do the research, um, and then put in the work. but it's available.
All right, man. What's next?
Awesome. Next is Richard Ray. He says, when did you both realize that you had a desire to make a difference in the lives of men? What were you doing prior to Order of Man to pour into men that developed you and inspired you to start a more focused, structured movement? Thank you for the difference you're making in my life and countless others.
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything that specifically helped pour into men other than I was doing some young men's in our church organization, which I love. Like I love working with the young men. I love having fun, and we would do airsoft and we go do jujitsu, and I'd bring them over and we'd lift in our garage. Like we would do cool stuff every week. I worked with a group of young men, but outside of that, I really wasn't doing anything until I started Order of Man. And I started Order of Man very selfishly. I was doing financial planning. You and I actually have a very, very similar background. You stuck with it. I bailed. And man, like I did the podcast for my financial planning practice called Wealth Anatomy. I think you know that. And I
Yep.
loved podcasting out of the gate. I loved it, but I didn't want to have that continual conversation. So I pivoted after about 20 episodes of that podcast into the Order of Man podcast, which is something I just wanted to do to be able to have conversations with impressive men in different fields so I could learn how to be a better business owner, how I could run my financial planning practice better. I had young children, 2 young boys at the time. I just wanted to be a better guy myself. So I launched Order of Man, and I thought I could have conversations with you guys via a podcast, and I would just publish it. I'd just make it public. It was just one-on-one coaching, free one-on-one coaching is all it was. And I would publish it. And I realized very quickly, man, we were onto something. And then we started a Facebook group not long after, and that grew very, very rapidly. And guys were asking questions and helping and supporting each other. I'm like, man, we're actually onto something here. And then what ended up happening is, hey, we love the podcast. We like the message. We like this group. Like, what if we want something more? I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that would look like, but let me see what we can do. And that's when we launched the Iron Council, which was in, I think it was November or December of 2015. And I opened it up for 12 guys. I'm like, I'll do 12. I don't know how long it'll take me, but I'll do 12 and we'll see what we can do. And we charged them $100 for 30 days. And we had 12 guys sign up overnight. I was actually looking at it the other day. Mark Oblowski, he's a good friend of mine. Do you know Mark?
No.
Okay. Mark's been with us since the beginning. He was the very first person to sign up for the Iron Council.
Wow.
And I have the email. It basically says, hey man, thanks for believing me. Like it was just me thinking about this. And now there's 2 of us, you and me. Let's see what we can do. And he's still in the Iron Council.
Wow.
But yeah, that's kind of how it grew. And then I don't think I ever had like the heart of helping men necessarily when I started, but I realized quickly that this is something guys need. I'm really good at this, just based on the skill set I have and have developed over the past nearly 9 years now. And I can see now how valuable it is in the lives of men and society as a whole. So it all came together, not because I had this grand plan of what it would look like, but because I took a step into something I was interested in. And here's what it's grown into.
Yeah. I'm glad you told it that way. I haven't heard you tell it that way before with it, including the Facebook group and
Yeah.
that stuff. That's cool. It's because the way that I've heard you explain it before, it almost makes it sound like you had this vision for this men's movement of,
No,
through the podcast more so as far as like scaling and being able to reach more
I mean, I did
ears and
think that would
things
be
like that.
cool. Like, I'm not gonna say that I didn't have thoughts of like, oh, this would be cool if other guys
Of
banded
course.
with it. And there
Yeah.
was a guy that I was really, really inspired by, Brett McKay with Art of Manliness. A lot of people who listen to this listen to Art of Manliness. I was very inspired by Brett. Um, and so I saw what he created, but I also saw a gap. He was educating men on some things that are all good and important, but I think we took a deeper, more action oriented direction as opposed to information consumption. And I saw that gap and we filled that gap. So I did have some idea of like, oh, this could be cool, but I never thought it would be what it is today. Never in a million years.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is Rogan says that same thing. And a lot of guys who are very successful in the space, when it has to do with podcast, saying you look at the most successful ones are things guys were passionate about. They stuck with it, not thinking whether it would work or not as much as there was a need. They were interested in it. They had a good time doing it, and then they were able to monetize it just as a process of really being interested
Well,
and
one
helping to fill
thing
the need.
one thing I wrote here is expectations are just the killer of dreams. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We all have this
Well,
dream of doing something,
but you'll never meet those expectations, and it never goes the way you want it to.
and that's why
I
it'll
mean,
crush you. If you
yeah,
think, like, for example, you could take it on a micro. If you think that you're going to go to the gym after sitting on the couch for a decade, that you're going to go pull 500 pounds on a deadlift, and that's your expectation, you're not going back into the gym.
no,
If you think you're going to show up on the jujitsu mats and like beat everybody's ass, like, and then you get there and everybody beats your ass, like, you're not going back to jujitsu. If you start a podcast and you think that you're going to become the next Order of Man or Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson, like, you're going to get your stuff handed to you and you're not going to continue to podcast. So what I would suggest to guys is loosen up on the expectation a little bit. Here's how I would say it. Have some expectations and some standards for yourself about your own performance, the way you're going to show up, the way you're going to do things, and then just let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to show up consistently. I'm going to show up professionally. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to do everything I can do. Those are my expectations for my own personal performance. And then what happens from there, I just have to let it ride. And if you do that, then you're not putting unnecessary weight or pressure on yourself to perform in a certain way, because I promise you, and I've heard it said this way, we always overestimate our abilities in the micro, but underestimate our abilities in the macro. So if you think in the next, 6 months, you're going to be God's gift to podcasting, you're sorely mistaken. But if you don't think that you can be successful over 10 years, you're also mistaken. You can.
yeah.
But it just takes the work and having a personal expectation of performance and then letting the results take care of themselves.
And most of those with the best results uh, have been doing it consistently from 5 to 10 years. That's the
Right.
range.
Of course.
Most of them where it pops. And
Getting
so
excited.
super excited. But mine was way different in that I did stick with it. I'll say that, like you were saying, in the
You did.
financial planning realm, which you wouldn't expect would lead into anything having to do with men or helping men. Most people think about money, but most of our business is dealing with relationships, especially for me in mentoring and coaching people how to run their own agencies. You end up dealing in their lives, their personal lives, and what's going on there. And so my wife is a very strong personality. As a matter of fact, our whole business is wrapped around, like, she's the face of our business on that end. We built it that way initially on purpose, but because it's such a strong women's presence, the men almost felt kind of left out a little bit, because she attracts more really strong women. And so I started thinking, oh, we need to do something more for the men. Simultaneously, I forget how I came across this podcast with the Order of Man. I had a friend, or maybe Shane came on here or something. I forget what it was. I
Yeah.
think
Shane's
maybe
been
Shane
on.
was on the pod.
Yeah. Shane's been on.
And maybe that was it. And I'm like, oh, I'll check that out. And I started listening. I'm like, man, I'm so in tune with everything this guy is saying. I want to find out more. And then the IC, I joined the IC when I was in the IC. And my thing was, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I want to do anything I can to help these guys grow. But I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to run a men's movement. I don't
And
want to
you've
grow a
always
men's
been
movement. I
really
got
clear
too
about
much.
that.
Very clear. I have way too much other stuff going on in other businesses happening at once, because I don't only have my financial business. We have other things too. And so in that, I was like, okay, but I already started doing this with the men in my other company, right? And so I run a group in there that we've got like 400 or 500 people, but no money, no anything. I just do it free as part of our practice on the financial business side. And then I told you, like, hey, I'll do anything I can to help this movement grow because I believe in it and it's needed. And so that's how I got involved. And it's led into this, but it was a combination of me wanting to, me looking for a need, me wanting to help as much as I could, and then the communication in between. For me, it was like, okay, I don't have the time to pour in to creating men's movement, but if I find one I believe in and I can get behind that somebody's running, I'll put in all the effort and ability that I do have for that cause. And as long as I communicate how I'm doing it with them, I'm going to give my best and help it grow however we can. And so that was the route that I took. And, that's all these other things happening now. Um, I'm never going to be specifically in the men's space. We have our happy and strong thing, like my wife's book, that the happy and strong book, that was just a part of the coaching thing that we do for couples. Because we do that as well. And that was something that we didn't plan that as a business. We just started doing it on the side because all these couples in our business had friends of theirs that were asking, will they coach me? Will they teach us? Will they? And I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. And then my wife and I were like, well, should we maybe just do like a couple public like conferences or something like that? We got the space for like 300 people and it filled. Like you said, like it was like, boom, we filled a room for 300 people like overnight. And we've done a couple and they've all filled and they've, all that stuff. And it's turned into a 6-figure business, literally us putting like 3% of our total time and effort into it. And it's already grown into a 6-figure business. Like,
Right.
if we focus and put extra effort on that, that could become a 7-figure business too. But it's not through trying to make it a business. It's through wanting to help people, wanting to support people, a need being there, you getting good at being able to help, you having some value to bring in that space. And then it's just time. It's time and effort and consistency. So,
Well, one thing is, as you're saying this, and I'm not speaking for you, I'm just speaking for myself. You said it's wanting to help people. I actually, for me, don't even think that's the case. Like, I'm trying to be really honest about this. And what I wrote here is, if you're looking for, and I talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago on a Friday Field Notes when I talked about finding your passion as a man. If that's something you're looking for and you're looking for some satisfaction, then what I would suggest, and here's what I wrote down, is what solution do you personally need that isn't available? What solution do you personally need that isn't available? So is it a men's group? Is that what you need? Because if you need that, then you're going to be bought into the idea of having a men's group and you're going to be able to lead something very good. If you have a dirty pool and you're like, I need a pool cleaner, but everybody else around here sucks or is too much. Okay, that's a solution you need. Could you be the one to fill that need? Now, maybe you don't know everything about pool cleaning or running a men's organization. That stuff you can figure out. Guys, that stuff you can find out. But if it's important to you, if it's meaningful, if it's significant to you, and it's okay to be selfish, then it will be significant and meaningful to other people. So, what is the problem that you need to solve for yourself? And then realize, like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, because there's other people who have the same problem you do and don't have a solution to it. The other thing that I wrote down here, because both of us had this happen, a bunch of guys were asking me, like, what can we do for men? Like, what do we do? Like, we listen to the podcast from the Facebook group. What next? And for you, your wife was going with her stuff, and all the guys are like, yeah, but what about us?
yeah.
If you build an audience around something that you personally are excited about, that's a solution you need in your life, then the people are going to start asking you for the product, for the service. And I found that to be true when we started the Iron Council. It was a 90-day course, and about 60 days into it, maybe even a little bit earlier, guys are like, hey, what do we do after this? I'm like, I don't know. So we created something that went above and beyond the initial 90 days because that's what the guys were asking for. So when you build something powerful, I think part of the way it's powerful is people are asking for more. And if they're asking for more, all you have to do is say, yeah, I got it. A lot of guys will actually complain, like, I'm the only one who ever organizes anything. My friends don't exert any effort. I'm always putting together the stuff. Why are you complaining about that?
Yeah.
Those are opportunities for you to lead, for you to step up, for you to provide solutions, for you to be the guy, the leader. So don't gripe and moan about being the guy who proposes solutions and then simultaneously say you want to be a leader, you want to be influential, you want to have credibility with other people. That's how you build it. So be grateful that nobody else is going to do it because you are the guy who will. And all those other people will complain, just like you were, about wanting something, but not being able to provide it themselves.
That's actually the answer. That's an opportunity screaming at you and you not
Of
recognizing it,
course.
right? I
Of
mean,
course.
that's proof that most people aren't going to do what you're doing to get the results that they want in their lives.
Well, you see it too,
Right.
like in every facet. I see a lot of guys who are dating, for example, and they're like, I don't know, like I don't feel like a man. I don't feel assertive. I feel timid or scared around women. And I'm like, well, okay, when's the last time you planned a date? I don't know. Like usually I'll ask her what she wants to do. Well, there you go. There's the problem. Like you want to be bold and strong and assertive, plan a freaking date with the girl you're interested in.
Yeah.
Don't even ask for input. I mean, take into consideration what you think she might like and what does, but like just plan it.
You
Don't
know,
complain about the opportunity, and I say it that way deliberately. Don't complain about the opportunity to be assertive. What an amazing opportunity, because 95+% of guys just aren't going to do it.
and I hope as people are listening to this, there's different routes to take for all of it. And it's just the bottom line, just like the stuff we were talking about with diet, is you have to pay attention and then you have to put in the work. You have to do the
Mm-hmm.
research and then put in the work. You have to find a need and then put in the work. And then other things, as you become successful, you'll start, stuff will almost literally kind of land in your lap, because you know what works because you're
Yeah.
successful. And
Yep.
like the stuff that you're doing with Gina now, like obviously women of all the men in our group start asking, is there something for me? Can I do something? Do they have that? And that's one of the questions. So I'll wait until we get there, right? But that's led into the things you're doing there, right? It's
Right.
just a natural progress of your success, and it's spreading through the work we're doing with men and naturally growing from there.
Yep. That's
All right.
right. Cool.
Next question. Justin Gaffs. As I continue to dive deeper into this work, talking to brothers and spending lots of time on the app, it's gotten a woman in my life to wonder what it would be like to have a sisterhood that's doing some type of work for women. In one of the Forge calls, Alan brought up that there was a group called Revitalized Sisterhood. That's the counterpart to the Iron Council. After looking into it, she's in the middle of doing their version of the battle plan and talking with Gina Trimmer and plans to join when the emails stop. Is there any way we
When the
can get the
what?
word?
Plans to join when the
It's,
what?
it says when the emails stop. That part I didn't understand either when I
I
was
don't know.
reading it.
Just join. Don't like, there's probably, I think because I work with Gina, she has like a series of emails
Mhm.
that you go through. Like, you don't need to wait till the emails stop. Like, just join now. Like,
Just join.
if you're ready to go, just join. Okay, keep going.
I'm glad you pointed that out because when I read the question initially, I was like,
Yeah, we have
sounds weird.
something similar. Like we have our 30 days to battle ready program. If you guys are interested in that, you can go to orderofman.com/battle ready. It's a series of 17 emails you receive over 30 days. And if you're like, hey, I want to join the Iron Council, like you don't need to wait till the emails are over in 30 days. If you're ready, like put it on hyperdrive and just go right now. And that's, I think, what he's referring to.
Yeah. And so he says, is there any way we can get the word out there to the women in our lives that want to grow alongside of us that there's also a group for women? Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate all you do.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it right now. We're talking about it now. If you hear about it in the Iron Council and want to share that, but I think it is important. Here's what I would suggest, and I have talked with Gina quite a bit about this. So Gina owns and runs Revitalized Womanhood, which is uh, very similar to Order of Man for specifically women, and then she has her sisterhood, which you referred to, which is very similar to the Iron Council for Order of Man. So I've consulted with her, I've coached her, and I've helped her build that to where it is today. Um, and yeah, just get involved. What I would suggest as a man, and I've talked with her about this quite often, is that sometimes men are very skeptical about having the women in their life do something like this. And it's a little hard for me to understand. I don't quite understand why a man wouldn't want his wife and significant other to be involved in an organization that's going to empower, motivate, inspire, and help give her the tools that she needs to thrive as a woman. I could see how in a man's mind, maybe an insecure man's mind, he might be intimidated by that or think that, oh, well, if she does all this, like, where does that leave
It's an
us?
ego thing for sure.
It
It's an ego
is
thing.
like, I don't know. I want the woman in my life to be happy, to be productive, to be successful, to have accountability, to have
To be
goals and
growing.
dreams and desires and growth. Like I want that. I'm actually willing to invest in ensuring that that's a part of her life because it just helps the relationship. And the same thing is true about us as men. And I think there's a question about how do we explain what we do to women? We'll talk about that. But yeah, we want it. I want to grow. I want accountability. I want motivation. I want the systems. I want the connections. So I think having a woman, especially if you're going to be involved in an organization like ours, it would be weird to me if I was on a path of self development and my significant other was not. I just don't think that would last. It's impossible. And we hear that every day from guys who are like, oh, I'm motivated and I'm inspired. I'm like kicking ass and she's not. Yeah, that's going to put a real damper on the relationship. So if you're willing to invest in yourself, then, and you understand the importance of doing it for you, there's also a really, really high level of importance on it for your wife too.
Yeah. I think just one point to that is I think the real reason we mentioned ego, but it comes down to some men are just scared that once their partner that they're with every single day is getting better, that maybe they'll knowing them that they're kind of scared that they're going to get more serious than they are and they're going to hold them accountable more often, right?
Yeah,
And so they
that will
kind of
happen.
almost
Of
don't
course
want
that'll
that.
happen. So if you're cool with like a mediocre marriage and a mediocre life and her not holding you accountable in any way and her not being a true partner to you, then yeah, don't do things like this. But if you're interested in growing, and I like a little push, I need it occasionally. I'm pretty self-motivated, so I don't need it all the time. I can do it on my own. I don't need like a woman to actually like push and prod and poke at me to do things. But I'm telling you what, like it's nice to know, hey, she's motivated. She's at the gym. She's working hard. I better get my ass in there and do the same thing. Not because I'm worried like she'll leave me or won't love me, but because this is what we do for ourselves and for each other.
Yeah. So what's that? Will you just then say where to find revitalized womanhood, all that stuff? Like give a
Yeah.
list of.
So revitalizedwomanhood.com and revitalized womanhood podcast, just like you'd find Order of Man. So it's the same thing. Revitalized Womanhood podcast and revitalizedwomanhood.com. Gina Trimmer, she's an incredible woman. I know her and her husband, Rick. You know, Rick. I don't know if you know Gina, but
She's
you know Rick really
yeah,
well.
know them both. Great.
Oh yeah,
Great.
that's right.
It's
You
a
get
great
spend some time
friendship.
with them. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they came out to our
Um,
place in California.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, great couple, great family, doing incredible things. So definitely check that if you're looking for something specifically geared towards women.
Yeah. And she's a great example too in so many different things where we were talking about consistency. I mean, they were just overseas for months and she
Yeah,
was
they
still
travel
running everything,
extensively.
still doing the podcast. Like she was still doing it, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah, it's incredible.
she's a
She's
good
on it,
no excuses person to follow. Yeah.
no doubt.
All right, next one, Landon Hughes. How do you realize when you have a good idea for business, and what strategies do you recommend for younger men looking to get into entrepreneurship?
I was just writing that down. How do you realize when you have a good idea for a business? When people are buying what you're offering, like, it's pretty good. If nobody's interested, it's not that you have a bad idea. Let me be clear on that. Just because nobody's interested in your product or service doesn't mean that you have a bad idea. It could mean that
Yeah,
nobody knows about it. So it's either that you have a bad idea that nobody cares about, or you have an idea that nobody knows about. It's one of those two things. And if nobody knows
people
about
thought
it,
Jeff Bezos' idea was stupid to sell books on the internet.
right? Yeah,
Let's
true.
just say
And
that.
so, well, isn't it Henry Ford who said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses or something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I think you have to be passionate about it, be excited about it. You have to be willing to take a risk and be a little bit ahead of your time. And then I think if you can market really well, and that's what I've said quite often on this podcast. In fact, I think I said it last week or the week before. I'm not, I'm not a like order of man isn't the business. Now I'm just purely talking about it from a business standpoint. And I want to hear if you would agree with this for your business. Order of man is not the business, meaning the primary business, it's a marketing organization.
That's ours too.
And we happen to be marketing services and products and offerings and events and things like that to men. Yep. When I was in the financial planning business, financial planning wasn't my business. Marketing was my business. And I happened to offer financial services.
Yeah.
That's a huge shift that everybody needs to make, because typically it's not that you have a horrible idea. It's that you suck at communicating it effectively to people.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
At 100%. Yeah. My title, I haven't taken a financial title in a couple decades. I've been doing this for 25 years. If you look at my title that I put on everything, it's leadership development.
Right.
Because, and that's all for marketing. That's
right.
all for just finding and helping to grow leaders that are good at marketing.
Yeah. I think just we have to get over for ourselves, our own mindset and mental clarity, this concept of the stigma behind sales guy. Like, I don't want to be a salesman. Why?
Yeah.
I want to be a salesman because I want what I want. Right. Yeah. So I want to be
nobody wants to be that salesman. And what I mean by that is like,
that's different.
Exactly.
That, again, that comes back to your tactical. That comes back to tactics. I don't want to be that guy either. Yeah. But I know I sell.
The bait and switch guy, the oversells and underdelivers guy.
Yeah.
That's when people think of salesman, that's the stigma that comes with it. They have to.
Yeah, that's the tactics behind it. But as far as selling things, yeah, I want to sell things. If I'm in the dating market, I need to be able to sell myself as a good catch. If I'm looking for a promotion or start a business, I need to sell my employer that I can produce more than I can consume. If I'm trying to sell any man who's listening a product or a service, then I need to be able to articulate it in a way that resonates with him and helps him to believe that we're going to provide the solution to his problem. If I want my kids to do their chores, I need to find a creative and clever way to sell them on the idea that, hey, it's not always fun, but we're going to do it with a smile on our face because we have this beautiful home to take care of. It's all sales. Get good at that. I think the rest begins to fall into line. But to answer the question about how do you know, people are interested. That's it. You have one guy interested and then another and then another and then another. And it isn't a one and done thing. You're constantly evolving the way that you market your products and services and the solutions that you create. And if you do that and you start to notice that you have a sale and then 2 sales and then 10 sales and then 200 sales, good. It's 200 now. How do you get it to 2,000? What can you do now to leverage and scale the business?
Yeah. I just wrote down, rewind this podcast, because you already answered the process. When you explained what you did to grow Order a Man, you explained the process and finding the need. You found the need. It was organic. It came up. But when those opportunities arose, you were paying attention. And so they weren't missed opportunities. And I think that's where most businesses fail, is the opportunities are all around them. But because they're not marketing, maybe they're focused on just the product or just the back end or the logistics of those things in front of them. They miss a lot of those opportunities away because they're not paying attention to the marketing side and to the opportunities around them for markets that they can fill.
The way I look at this,
rewind the podcast and listen to that part again, and you'll get a lot of insight on growth.
The way I look at this, Sean, and I heard this analogy one time, and I'll ask you. Okay, so let me give you a scenario. You are fairly new in the hunting world, and you have a couple options here. You can either choose, in this made up scenario, you can either choose to have the absolute best gun on the market with the best optics and the most beautiful crafted gun and machined gun, and it's 100% accurate. It's just this amazing firearm. But in order to have that, you have to trade off a little bit of skill set. meaning, you're new, you don't really know what you're doing. It's going to be hard to navigate being out in the woods. You're doing it alone. Okay. So that's scenario one. Scenario two is you have this old rifle. It's banged up. It's beat up. It's been used. It'll shoot. It'll hunt. You can kill a deer with it, but it's not awesome. It's kind of banged up a little bit. It's older technology. But if you want that, then you get the skill set. And the skill set is, where to find deer, how to find them, how to stalk them. And you've got that side dialed in. Which option do you choose? Better gun, more skill set?
Always skill set.
Always the skill set. 100%. If you say anything else, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. You're always going to go for the skill set. Right. So that's the point I'm making, is you don't need the perfect product. You need to develop the skill set to be able to market the product. And the one that came to mind is, if I wanted to get, for example, into detailing cars, hypothetically, I'll just throw this one out here. I wanted to detail cars. I don't need all the best vacuums and cleaners and tools and this. I don't need all that. I need to get really, really good at marketing. And then I need to do a good job. Probably not the best job because I don't have all the technology, but I need to do a 90%, 95% job. And then once I start getting clientele because I'm a good marketer and I do a decent job, then I can invest. Okay, I'm going to upgrade my vacuum. Okay, now I'm going to upgrade these tools. Now I'm going to do a little research on what the best cleaners are to use. And you can figure it out. Like I can go to Walmart today and buy everything I need for probably less than $500 to do a decent detailing job. Now, I want to get to the point where my equipment is worth $5,000 or $10,000, but right now I can do it with 500. And that's the point I want to make to you now, is minimal viable product. Whatever it is you're doing, car detailing, doing a podcast, teaching people how to shoot firearms, teaching people jujitsu, whatever, painting, cooking, name it. Minimum viable product. If people are interested in that, you start to invest in it. People are interested in that, invest a little more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then before you know it, become the expert on car detailing or firearms training or self-defense, or fill in the blank with your passion of choice.
I like it. There's only one thing I'd add to that. When you mentioned perfect product, always know there is no perfect product.
Yeah,
There's
right.
no investing, or you're trying to build to having the perfect product. You mentioned getting a better vacuum, getting a better cleaners, getting better, all that stuff. There might be some better ones here and there for different things, but none of them are perfect. None of them do everything the best. So you're never going to have that. So you're always better off working on, I call it people. In our business, I delegate everything that's not people. And I focus on the people side. And we're talking, like we said, marketing, all the human nature stuff, the people issues, people problems. You help that and solve that, everything else falls into place eventually. So your focus should be there.
I like that. I had a young, I'll say young lady, that I used to work with when I was doing retail management. And she was having a really bad day. I could tell she was like off her game. She was usually amazing, excuse me. And she was an off game. Like I was in clothing and she was leaving clothing around, and she was missing clients and not upselling. And like, she was just having an off day. And I got after her a little bit more than maybe I should have. Like I laid into her a little bit. I'm like, what's your problem? Like, put all these clothes away. What do you do? Like, I was more frustrated than I should have been with her. And she started crying and ran in the back room. And I'm like, what's she crying about? Like, women, girls. Oh my gosh, they're crying over nothing. And my manager, her name was Stacy. He's like, chill out. Hold on a second. Like, let's go figure out what's going on. And I'm like, why? She just needs to put the clothes away. Why? Just do it. Like, I wonder what the problem is. And Stacy is like, and I love Stacy for these reasons, but she's like, just wait, hold on. So she went back there and talked with this young woman. And if I remember right, it was her grandmother. It was a close family member had just died.
No.
Like either the day before or that day. Had just died. And I blew up at her because I thought it was a performance issue. And Stacy said, well, it's not a performance issue. It's a human issue. There's like something else. Like, she's a performer. We know that about her. Something else is going on here. We need to figure it out. So she went back there and talked with her, and she was so empathetic. And all the people that worked with her loved her, Stacy, including me. Like, she was a great manager. And I think she probably sent her home that day, or, whatever, talked with her, had some empathy, had some kindness and care, which I lacked at the time for her, and sent her home. And she came back, a week later or whatever it was. And it was fine. She was awesome. Back to performance, and probably better so, and probably a better connection with her manager, Stacy, at the time, because of the level of empathy. And I think this goes to the point that you're sharing, and this is a little bit off subject, but human relationship is the most important thing. The money and all that kind of stuff, that will follow. But when you have a human connection with somebody, I'll give you another example. Oftentimes we have guys who join the Iron Council and then they have to leave for whatever reason. Maybe they have financial hardship, or it's not getting the benefit they need, or whatever. And a lot of the times their billing will have just gone through, and they'll message me and they'll say, "Hey, Ryan, like, I'm planning on leaving the Iron Council. Is it possible for me to get a refund?" Well, technically I don't have to offer that, right? They knew they set up on reoccurring billing. I don't have to offer a refund. Like, if they missed it, that's on them. And part of me says, hey, you need some accountability here. But the other part of me is, I don't know what they're dealing with. Maybe they're late on their car payment. I'd rather them make their car payment than having to worry about an extra $90 that could have gone to put food on the table, or a car payment. And so I try to be as empathetic with these guys as possible. And I'm not sure that in the last 9 years, there's a case. There might have been one or two based on some circumstances, but 99% of the time, like, yeah, of course, we'll give you a refund. Because it's not about the money. It's about the person. What is that person dealing with? What is that person experiencing? Why can't this person afford the $97 a month right now? Like, that's the bigger issue. And when I offer that level of empathy and human connection, those guys come back, or they share. They couldn't join, or you'll see it in the Facebook group. I had to leave for financial reasons, but man, that was the best investment I ever made. And they're recruiting people to what we're doing. That money stuff, man, that stuff will get taken care of. You worry more about the human connection with people, and you'll never have to worry about wanting or growing a business or any of these things that we're talking about.
Yep. Perfect. Next question is from Brent Wardell. What is the one daily habit that has stood out that helped move the needle in your life in the direction you crafted in your vision?
Oh, that's easy for me. It's this right here. If you guys can't see this because you're listening instead of watching, it's the battle planner. This is easy. Like, this is a no-brainer. I know so many men who do not plan out their day. They're not thinking about what they need to get done. They're kind of just going at it willy-nilly, haphazard, letting other people dictate what their life's about, letting their wife tell them what they need to do, letting their boss dictate all their projects. Guys, if you can find a way, and I don't even need to get into this necessarily, but what I'm telling you right now with the battle planner is that you need to have a planning tool. And I don't care if it's just like a piece of paper that you write notes on. Okay. Write down what needs to get done, write down what you want to accomplish. And at the end of the day, document it. Hey, here's what I got done. Check that off, check that off, check that off, check that off. I started that one, but didn't finish it because I'm waiting on a phone call back. That one I didn't even start. Good. Roll it over to the next day. The more intentional you are in the morning about planning out your day and the evening. So for example, even evening, and I'm not just talking about professionally, but in the evening, I pull up the app. Johnny Loretti is my fitness coach and nutritionist. And every night I pull this up and I look at what I'm going to be doing for the workout the next morning. And I go into my closet and I put out my workout clothes and I fold them with my shoes and my socks, my workout clothes, and I put them right on the shelf by themselves, right there, ready to go. I've got my drink in the freezer, like in the fridge, the cold water the night before in the fridge. I've got my pre-workout in the cabinet so that when I get up in the morning, I wake up, brush my teeth, wake up a little bit, wipe the stuff out of my eyes, get changed, go into there, grab my water out of the fridge, pour the discipline into it, pre-workout, and I go hit the gym. And I already know what I'm doing. No guesswork. There's no guesswork. There was no guesswork about what we were doing today, Sean. There's no guesswork about what other podcasts I have today. There's no guesswork about what am I going to do if I'm bored? I'm not bored. I know exactly what I'm going to do at any given moment of every given day. And having that plan in place and then reviewing and recapping at the end of the day is the most important thing every guy should be doing.
Man, mine's exactly the same. Mine 2 decades before coming into the Iron Council, I called it my business plan. And where I got it for the first time, I was 22, and someone told me to read Think and Grow Rich. And in Think and
Mm,
Grow Rich, it says, know exactly what you want, know when you want it by, the date by which when you want it, um, know what you intend to give in return,
I
and
like that.
then write that down and then read it out loud twice a day. And so that became my business plan. And it evolved over 2 decades. And one of the reasons that I got into the Iron Council was I also was feeling kind of flat where, I mean, you know this, like I've been business partners with Ed Milet for 25 years, right? So he's been one of my personal mentors for 25 years. And so you figure, oh, if you're around that guy, he's mentoring you, you're just always going to do awesome. But after 2 decades, I don't care who you hear from, like sometimes you just need to maybe hear it a little different or see it a little different. And so that's what happened with me. I got into IC and it made me sharp again. But what I started doing was, instead of the business plan the way that I used to do it, I started doing the battle plan. And one thing I want to point out is, for guys not watching this, because I can see you, you can see me, I'm assuming most of them listen to this. As soon as you said it, not only did you mention the battle planner, you have it with you. So
Yeah,
it's
it's right
right there.
here.
You held it up. You have it in front of you all the time. So at minimum, you need to be reading it and seeing it out loud, or in front of you twice a day, at minimum, morning and night. I mean, that's what it says in Think and Grow Rich. That's the way I've always done. Every successful person I've ever talked to, if you ask them for the secret, that's what they do. They know exactly what their goals are. They have them in front of them a couple times a day. They're looking at them, reading them. The best guys are doing it kind of out loud. And like mine's right here on the wall. It's in my barn. I'm in here multiple times a day, but I'm in here every morning, every night. I also have it up in my bathroom in my house, and it's there. It's in front of me. It's my whole battle planner, my tactics, what I'm doing daily. And then, like you said, that turns into those habits. So all of the most effective habits that you'll have in your life start with that plan, because with the plan in front of you, you start saying, okay, my goal is to have this and do this, but I suck at this. I suck at the process to get there. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to pre-plan my day. I need to, and then pre-planning your day becomes, well, what's the most effective things I need to do in this day? I need to get my workouts in. I need to eat better. I need to do this, right? And okay, so what do I need to implement to have that? So as you were saying, your thing of how you lay your clothes out, all that stuff, I was like thinking of my routine. I have the same thing. I know I don't want to wake up my wife in the morning. I have to get up at 5:30 and take one of my kids to seminary and all that stuff. And so I lay out all my clothes out on the couch in the living room every morning. I have all
Yep.
those out there because I don't want to wake her up, right? So I sneak out and I go have all my food. Same thing, like you said, I have all my vitamins, all that stuff is laid out, ready to go. So I'm doing all of that, and all that's done before I even take my kid to a seminary, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
already planned and pre-done. And then when I get back, I have this gap where I can be effective. So whether it's reading books, whether it's journaling, planning other things throughout the day, stuff like, most people are sleeping. So what can I get done that needs to be done that I isn't people, right? So that when people are awake, I can do the people stuff. And again, it's just pre-planning and going through, and that's created a lot of these habits that I don't even think about anymore.
No, it's just
But
ingrained into who you are.
but I didn't do any of them. I sucked at all of them. And the reason I'm good is because, more than anything, a couple times a day, it's in front of me and all of it's important. And just automatically, subconsciously, your brain's going to start moving. We talked about those opportunities, how most people miss them. They miss the opportunities because their vision's not clear. Their goals aren't
Right.
clear. They haven't reminded themselves of those things. But if you're constantly reminding yourself a couple times a day, you're not going to miss those opportunities. They're going to be very clear when they show up to you in your life.
Yep.
So that's awesome
Yeah.
that you said it, because the exact thing. So I love it.
I think most successful people are that way. Well, Sean, let's do this. We're bumping up a little bit against time. Let's do I know there's 2 or 3 questions left. I'd like to answer those. Let's do just rapid fire on these questions and we'll get them answered. We'll do it good. We'll make sure we give you good answers, but we'll do a rapid fire on these ones.
All right, Nathan Struble, what is the significance of being a peacemaker versus a peacekeeper? I've heard that a peacemaker is better, and even in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers."
Yeah. Well,
What?
I just think, look, we might be playing some semantical games here, but I think if we want to look at what, maybe not the definition of them, but at least the way I understand it, a peacemaker, doesn't that just sound more intentional? I'm keeping the peace, just like make sure everything, like placate everybody, make sure everybody's okay. And like, I don't have any opinion about it. And I don't like, just, I don't want any confrontation. That's so
Say what people want to
passive.
hear. Yeah.
Right. But a peacemaker is actively, assertively working towards something. I pulled up something here. The definition of peace: freedom from disturbance or tranquility. That never happens in life. You're never going to be free from disturbance or have some sort of tranquility in your life. There's always going to be challenge. And our ability to tackle that, to anticipate what the disturbance of peace might be, uh, that's how we create or make peace. Okay, I know that there's economic turmoil I'll need to deal with. I know that, as my children get older, they're going to have their own challenges that they're going to struggle with and go through. And I need to be able to be aware of those and walk them through them. So I think a peacemaker relative to a peacekeeper is somebody who thinks a little bit further ahead and then actively is engaged in doing things that help him overcome hurdles and obstacles. I know that at some point, fortunately, I haven't dealt with many health conditions. I'm 42 years old. I know that at some point my body will break down more than it is now, that I'll have to work harder. I'll need to be more aware of the foods that I'm taking in, that I might be diagnosed with cancer at some point. Like, that's going to happen. So in order to be, what does it say? Free from disturbance, in this case, physical disturbance, I need to get up. I need to work out. I need to feel my body correctly. That's peacemaking versus, oh, I just hope everything's okay and nothing really happens and we'll just bury our heads in the sand if something does. That's the difference to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world.
Mm,
If you're actively showing up and you treat people well, you love people, you treat them the way they're supposed to be treated, regardless of what they look like, their sexual preference, any of that stuff. And you look at these companies that are trying too hard, the ones that are reaching too hard, that are doing what you're saying, kind of trying to find things to say to get people on board, to make them feel more diverse, are the ones that are failing. But the people that are just treating everybody well, they are naturally and organically becoming more diverse. It's like I'd mentioned the event I just did. We had 1,700 people. We had every type of person speaking, right? Like skinny, fat, tall, short, black, white, brown, Indian, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, like you name it. We had them all speaking, right? Lesbian, gay, like any of that stuff. They were all speaking. They were all great. They all had value to bring, and they're all awesome. But the reason they spoke is not because they were gay, not because they were
right.
black, not because they were, oh, we weren't like, oh, we need a gay person up there. We're like, no, who's the best at that? Olivia's the best at that. Like, she's going to speak, right? Who's the best at that? Erica's the best at this. She's going to do this, right? And so it's like, naturally, we're diverse because we're finding the best people, not caring what they look like, and just treating people right, looking for the people that are those best examples, and they're going to show up. They're just going to happen to have these different things about them.
I mean, that's the diversity that matters, not what your skin color is or your sexual preference or how tall or short or skinny or fat. That some of those are immutable characteristics, but basing diversity off of your skin color, your hair color, your eye color, that's how absurd skin color is. It's like, well,
But that's
that would be like
peacekeeping,
saying
right? That's what we're talking
I
about.
want blue-eyed people. That's absurd. That's
Yeah.
not diversity. I mean, I guess technically it's diversity in your physical eye color, but not diversity that actually matters. All right, what's next?
Yeah. Tim Phillips, how would you explain the IC to the wife's girlfriend, significant others who maybe don't understand what's going on here?
Oh, I think that's a good question. I think it's easy. You just frame it in the context of what they want. Like, she wants you to be a more engaged husband. She wants you to be more engaged father. She wants you to perform better at work. Like that's what she wants. And that's not bad. Like I want things from my partner. She wants things from me. That isn't bad. And in fact, it should be congruent. Like our values and our desires should align. If she wants the same things I want, and I want the same things she wants to give, like that's a good relationship. But I think if you frame it that way and you say, hey, I'm joining this group or this organization, and it's helping me to learn how to communicate more effectively with you so we can have a better partnership. Or we meet every week and there's this channel in the Iron Council that talks about fatherhood, and we share ideas about, like cool ideas to take our kids on trips, or how to communicate them when they're dealing with something hard, or how to discipline our kids in an empathetic way that will actually help them grow and develop. So you just share it into the context of what she wants, because if you strip all of that away, it's really just costly and time consuming.
Yeah.
It costs money and it takes your time away from the family. That's probably not a great way to explain it. So I look at it as an investment. You're investing time and money and resources into something that will yield a greater return in some element or all of your life. How do you love on your wife better? How do you raise your kids more effectively? How do you grow your business? How do you become fit so that you have more energy for her and your kids? Always frame it. And by the way, this is not just Iron Council exclusive. If you're talking with a client, I don't really care about all the bells and features of your product. What I care about is what that bell and feature are going to do to make my life better. And the more this, again, marketing 101. How do I solve your problems? So if your wife's like, I don't know if you should be investing in this, and you think you should, don't convince her that this is good for you. She doesn't care about that. What she cares about is, how is this good for us? How is this good for the family? Why are we taking money away and time and investing here when we could be putting it here? You better be able to sell that case based on what she wants, not what you want or what you think she wants.
That was good. See, I'm too much of a smartass. My answer would be, babe, first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
Well,
Go ahead.
good. Look,
Good
you're being a
luck with that.
smartass, but I'll tell you one thing, Sean, that I know about you and your relationship is, and I know you're joking, but
Yeah.
some guys can afford to say things like that because you put so many deposits into the relational bank account that she's not going to question why you're spending money on this.
Yeah, and I was totally kidding. Like
I know, but I know you're kidding, but
yeah.
but think about that for a second, because if other guys said that and they've done other things and they failed and they haven't followed through, and like if other guys say that, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. And that's why I said I wouldn't add, I think you nailed it. I would say that you said it would, if you look at it really, it takes away from time from your family. That's true, but only in the beginning. Because if you do it right, that's only temporary. At first, it's going to take more time and effort in away from the family, maybe from other things, because you need to be around it and hear it and learn it. But once you start applying the things that you learn here, it's actually going to add more time and
Yeah,
value
good
to your
point.
family. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
all right, last.
the other thing too on that, and then I'll let you get to that last question, is sometimes people will say that with regards to fitness, like, oh, I really want to be healthy, but I care about my family too much. I'm like, yeah, that's a cute story. Like you're hiding behind your wife and your kids to be a fat slob. Real cute.
I hate that
Like
one.
that's not going to
I
work out
hate
very
that.
well. So get your ass up early. Right? Your kids are going to be sleeping. Get up at 5, get up at 5:30, go put in 45 minutes, and then hurry and get back before your kids even wake up. Well, but then I'm cutting into my sleep. Go to bed earlier. Yeah, but my kids stay up later. Put them to bed earlier. They need to have sleep anyways. Get them on a schedule, get them on a routine. Don't hide behind the excuse of like, oh, I care about my family too much. That's why I can't take care of myself. Okay.
I hate that stuff. That people
It's so
like
dumb.
hide behind, not hiding. I call it like we use our family as an excuse. Your family should be the reason, dude, not your
Mm,
excuse of why you can't do it. That should
mm.
be the exact reason why you go out and be better, is so that you could be more productive with them. So that you could, I mean, you say it all the time, right? I wanted to start doing this because I couldn't jump on a trampoline with my kid. It made me
Yep.
realize. So that was your reason to be better, not your excuse of like, oh, well, I guess I can't do this, right? I guess I'm just too fat to play with my kids. Like, yeah, That's all I'm gonna say. Don't get me
No, I
started
like
on
that.
your
I wrote
small
that down.
children.
Use your family as a reason, not an excuse. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Rick Blaylock. Any news on the next Order of Man Legacy event?
No, I have my legacy shirt on today, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look
one of
at
my
that.
legacy shirts on. No, so our legacy is a father-son event. So I don't have the dates on that, but I will later, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But we do have one event, the Uprising, which is May 2nd through the 5th. I think we only have 8 spots as of today available. That's May 2nd through the 5th. That one's not a father-son one. That is 20 men. We'll all be in Southern Utah. We're going to hold each other accountable. We're going to do a lot of planning going through this to make sure the rest of your year is lined out. We're going to do some fun stuff, some physical activities. We're going to push and compete with each other a little bit. It's an event we haven't done for 6 years. And I just
Oh, wow.
secured the place here in Southern Utah. It's awesome. So if you are interested in an event, again, that's not the father son one. It's the Uprising event. Again, 8 spots. You can go to orderofman.com/uprising because I'm very, very excited about that event.
Cool. And then for just for the legacy as far as thought process, because I know you still have your place in Maine, will that be in Maine or are you going to do that in Southern Utah also, you think?
I haven't
Or
decided
not
yet.
sure yet?
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't decided. We have obviously we can do an East Coast and Maine, which probably will do the main event out there, but then probably keep the father son event here. But I haven't fully decided yet. We'll figure that one out.
Cool. Well, like always, good show today.
Good show, good conversation, Sean. I appreciate you. I always value our friendship and your insight, guys. Hopefully, you got some good stuff from this, and it serves you. Ultimately, we talk a lot, and we yap a lot, and we flap our gums, but it's important that we put this stuff into practice. So please do. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns or comments or whatever, hit me up on Instagram at Ryan Mickler or Ryan at orderofman.com. I'll respond. I'll get those answered, and we'll keep driving on. Anything else, Sean?
No, just glad to be here.
All right, guys, go out there, take action, become the man you are meant to be.